Hot 106.5. It's time now for Front Page Jacksonville, a show that delves into the issues that affect you. We believe in transparency and providing only the facts. And now, here's Octavius Davis.
Hey, we're back in the building. Welcome to another edition of Front Page Jacksonville. I am Octavius, the $1 Million Voice Davis, your host of Front Page Jacksonville. Appreciate you hanging out with us once again on a Sunday morning. If you are not already following me on social media, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and do so. That's at the $1 Million Voice, D-A $1 Million Voice. That's what the handle will be on Instagram and TikTok. Also on YouTube. If you don't know, Front Page Jacksonville is video recorded and it streams on my YouTube page. That's youtube.com/at the $1 Million Voice. If you're on Facebook, it's just Octavius Davis. Okay, 1-0, not 2. Octavius Davis. And if you're curious, there is a website, themilliondollarvoice.com. DAMilliondollarvoice.com. So those are all the different social handles. That's how you can connect with me virtually. Or you can just simply tune into Hot 106.5 every Sunday morning from 6 to 8 a.m. for Front Page Jacksonville and hang out with me here. Because the phone lines are always open for your comments at 833-758-1065. So, Jack, we back up in here, man. Did you catch any of the NFL draft this past week?
All I know is that Shoutout Sanders, me and him, were doing a little jersey swap. That's going to be crazy, yeah.
Dude, I was surprised to see that he finally got drafted, but he slipped all the way down to the 5th round.
I mean, honestly, I've seen a lot of people bringing up statistics like, a lot of the best QBs got drafted, in the later rounds. More development,
Sure.
Kind of lights that fire under him. Imagine what he's thinking right now.
Oh, man, yeah. Now, let me ask, are you a big football fan?
I'd say enough.
Okay.
I follow it.
All right, cool. So you bring up a really good point because, and Jack, this is our first time even having this discussion, especially as it relates to the draft in the NFL. I have long since believed that quarterbacks who are drafted later on typically do better because, A, they have a larger chip on their shoulder. They have more to prove, right? But then the developmental piece that you just made mention of, because when you think about Brock Purdy, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, his nickname after the draft was Mr. Irrelevant.
Really?
And the reason why his nickname was Mr. Irrelevant is because he was the very last pick for that particular year that he was drafted to the 49ers.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that,
Wow.
Yep. And so every year, like case in point, whoever the very last pick is for this year's draft, his nickname is going to be Mr. Irrelevant, right? So Mr. Irrelevant, a.k.a. Brock Purdy, his rookie season, he had to step in because Jimmy Garoppolo got injured, and he actually took the 49ers to the playoffs as a rookie quarterback, right? Of course, everyone, and if you don't know the story of Tom Brady, I mean, sheesh. His professional career speaks for itself, but he had to work immensely hard to get to that point. So it'll be interesting to see what Shoutout Sanders does as he now steps into his NFL career. But you mentioned that you and Shoutout are doing a jersey swap. Break that down for me. What do you mean?
Well, see, this will tell you how much I know about football, because I meant to say Travis Hunter.
Oh.
You know what I mean? He's a Jacksonville Jaguar. I was like, Sanders, Hunter.
Got it. So
Two
yes.
superstars, yeah.
Hey, well, definitely Travis Hunter drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Second overall. Did you watch it in real time?
I did not actually, nah.
Yeah.
But, saw all the clips on Instagram and social media and whatnot.
Same. I didn't watch the draft online. I shared this with listeners once before, but I've done away with different paid streaming services because I refuse to pay the absorbent amount of money. And I told myself going into the draft, I was like, I really want to watch this live, but the clips are going to be on social media in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
I'll just wait till it hits social media. But I also followed the draft on the ESPN app. And so going into the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars were slated to draft at number 5. And so I open up the app, and, you know, I keep refreshing because the Tennessee Titans, they had the number 1 overall pick, and everyone pretty much figured they were going to draft Cam Ward, which they did. And so I'm refreshing the app, and I'm like, hold up, how did Jacksonville move up to number 2?
Yeah.
And then my next thought was, what did Jacksonville give up to move?
What did you do?
Yeah, what did you do? And so I'm like, okay, they're about to make a splash. What are they about to do? And I saw the name T. Hunter come up. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
They went after Travis Hunter. So what were your thoughts when you saw that the Jags went and got him?
You know, I was talking with Dex and Barbie about it a little bit, and Dex was trying to say, you know, the Jags have kind of a rebuilding year right now because, you know, they had the kind of second, third round picks, but that kind of got thrown out the window with the whole Travis Hunter pick. But I'm excited for this year, honestly. You know, he could be like a standout guy for the team. You know, and you know. Me trying to move to Jacksonville. What a time! What a time to get him.
What a time, man! What a time!
Gonna have to get that.
Now he's a young man that I've followed since he was transitioning from high school into college, because there was a lot of hoopla. I'll say in the national media circuits, because he made a decision. He was I think he was a top 5 recruit coming out of high school, touted as the number 1 wide receiver and cornerback in the country. Every college wanted him. And what did Travis Hunter do? Travis Hunter decided to go to Jackson State University with Deion Sanders. Travis Hunter's freshman year was also Deion Sanders' freshman year as a head coach, which was also Shoutout Sanders' freshman year as a quarterback. And I remember there being so much said about Travis's decision to go to an HBCU instead of a Power 5 school or one of those top-ranked colleges. And so we see how Deion and his guys, I'm going to call them his boys, because from at least what I can glean through the media over the years, it seems like Deion has also treated Travis like his son. They went and they handled business at Jackson State University. Then Deion Sanders gets the call to go to Colorado University. And he answers the call. And Shoutout, Shiloh, and Travis, and I think there may have been some other young men that went along with him for the ride. And I know this past season in particular, everybody was rooting to see Colorado do something significant. And so here it is, even coming into this year's draft, despite him spending, I think, 2, possibly 3 seasons. I think he was at Jackson State University for 2 seasons. Despite Travis Hunter being at an HBCU for the first 2 years of his collegiate career, it did not hinder his draft stock, because that's what a lot of the sports talking heads were trying to say back in the day. So not only did the Jacksonville Jaguars select the number 1 wide receiver in the draft, but with that 1 pick, they also secured the number 1 corner or defensive back, however you want to phrase it, all with that 1 pick. And I think this is the first time in draft history that a player is being drafted as 2 players in 1.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how do you think that's going to work out for him in the NFL? Because I've heard people say that it's, you know, they're just not going to let him do it. It's not something conceivable even, but
well, you know what? Everything is impossible until someone shows that it's possible.
Amen.
You know, and I even think about what James Gladstone, the general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars, said during the press conference. He said, no, we want Travis to be himself. We drafted him because he brings a very unique skill set to the football field. They intend to use him as both a wide receiver and a corner. And I know that's something that Travis had been very vocal about wanting to have happen with whatever team he's drafted to as well. So how will it play out? It remains to be seen. Because here's what I do understand. Just because someone can't do something, they will try to say what another person can't do as well. So I've heard NFL pros, both current and former pros, say, oh, well, he's not going to be able to do it, the intensity, the wear and tear on the body, et cetera, which may all be very true facts. I've never played a lick of organized football. You understand what I'm saying to you? So the gentlemen who have made these statements, they know far better than I do. However, I choose to believe the kid. If Travis says he can play both sides of the ball, he can play both sides of the ball until he proves that he can't. So that's how I think it's going to play out. So in addition to Travis Hunter, whom the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted in the first round, second overall, here are the 8 other draft picks the Jaguars selected. In the third round, 88th overall, they took Caleb Ransaw, who's a defensive back out of Tulane. Also in the third round, 89th overall, they took Wyatt Millum, who is an offensive guard out of West Virginia. Round 4, 104th overall. I hope I get this name pronounced correctly. Bashal Tootin, a running back out of Virginia Tech. But I do want to make this note. He was clocked as the fastest running back in the draft this year. He ran a 4.340. What does that mean in layman's terms? The boy got jets on his feet. He can fly. That's what that means. Also in the fourth round, drafted 107th overall, Jack Kisser, a linebacker out of Notre Dame. The sixth round, 194th overall, was Jalen McLeod, a linebacker out of Auburn. Round 6th, 200th overall, Rayon Lane III. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Rayon Lane III out of Navy. He plays the position of safety. Round 7, 221st overall, Jonah Monheim. I think that's Monheim. Jonah Monheim, offensive center from USC. And round number 7, number 236th overall, LaQuint Allen, a running back out of Syracuse. Now, I want to go back to Jonah Monheim real quick, the center out of USC. I'm almost positive our brand new executive VP of football operations, Tony Baselli, had a whole lot to say with this particular pick, because if you don't know, Tony Baselli is also an alum from USC, who was also the very first draft pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars back in 1995. So here it is. The table has been set. We've gone through free agency. We have now culminated with the draft. We have our executive vice president of football operations in Tony Baselli. We have our new general manager in James Gladstone. And the Jaguars have their brand new head coach, Liam Cohen. What will they do? It remains to be seen. I am cautiously optimistic because yet and still they are the Jacksonville Jaguars. And until they prove you, me, the city, and the rest of the country differently, we have to treat them as such. And what is the such that I'm referring to? We got to treat it like it's a toxic relationship, okay? We want to believe that it's going to get better. We want to believe that they've changed. But have they really? And then if they do change, is it long-term change, or is it just in the here and now until they get back into our good graces? If you've never been in the toxic relationship, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you have been in a toxic relationship, you know exactly what I'm saying to you right now. But, you know, with all of this, something I have not heard spoken, and it may be because, again, I don't watch a lot of TV at home because I don't have the streaming services. But something that I have not yet heard, I do listen to a lot of sports radio, though. You do realize that in Jacksonville, we will not see any of these players actually play until either 2027 or 2028. I'll say that again. You do realize we will not have an opportunity to witness this team play in Duval County until 2027 or 2028 because this fall, the Jacksonville Jaguars will be playing in Orlando for their home games until the renovations are done on the new stadium. So that's something that I haven't heard discussed yet because with all the fanfare, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited. And I can't confirm or deny whether or not I went online pricing season tickets for the Jaguars during the draft. But the reality of the matter is, if you want to see Travis Hunter, if you want to see the other rookies that we just drafted, if you want to see how Liam Cohen is going to perform as a head coach, you're going to have to travel down to Orlando. I believe it's the camping grounds, wherever FAMU and BCU play the Classic. That's where you'll have to go because that's where the Jaguars will be kicking off their season this fall and for the next foreseeable 2, possibly 3 seasons until the new stadium is built. 833-758-1065 is the number to call if you'd like to jump on Front Page Jacksonville. There's more topics coming up to discuss. Stick around.
Now back to the show that informs you and discusses the issues. Front Page Jacksonville on Hot 106.5.
All right, I figure we dive into some of the goings-ons around the city. Have you heard about the immigration rally that took place on yesterday? So a rally was organized by the Jacksonville Immigrant Rights Alliance on the intersection of Beach Boulevard at Southside Boulevard. And participants were in support, or rather should I say, and when I say in support, meaning against. Participants were against the recent immigration bill that was passed here in Jacksonville. Maria Garcia, she is a member of the Jacksonville Immigrant Rights Alliance. She said that we want to show not just the immigrant community, but our elected leaders. We don't stand for these mass deportations. Mass deportations have been happening across the country. And if you recall, last month I shared where the City Council, Jacksonville City Council, passed an immigration bill, a bill that Mayor Donna Deegan did not sign. Here's a statement from City Council Vice President Kevin Carrico. Jacksonville is setting the standard for cities across America. We are taking decisive action to ensure our community is safe, and we are fully supporting federal and state authorities in enforcing immigration laws. This policy demonstrates our commitment to upholding the rule of law and protecting the interests of our citizens. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm down with supporting laws. I'm cool with protecting the interest of American citizens. But what kind of makes me, kind of turn my head sideways and give the Scooby-Doo, is when I see things like we are taking decisive action to ensure our community is safe. See, this is where to me, the political circus comes into play. Because as I stated a moment ago, although I don't digest a lot of news media throughout the course of the week, and that's just a personal preference of mine, because a lot of it, it can be very negative. And so for me, I digest my information in moderation. And if I'm being 100% honest, which I will always be with you, most of the news content that I digest nationally, locally, or from a state standpoint is in preparation for this show. So with that said, since the launch of this show in September of 2024 to right now, in this very moment, even as of 4:30 this morning when I was doing preparation for this show, I have yet to come across a story in either of our news media outlets here in Jacksonville that shows or discusses any absorbent amount of crime or other issues that were caused by immigrants in our community. I haven't seen it. Let's push pause on the news media for a moment, because I work in the heart of downtown Jacksonville. I'm a patron of different businesses here in Jacksonville. I've lived in Jacksonville since like 84, 85. And throughout all of this time, throughout all of this exposure, I have yet to experience, encounter, witness, or hear through third party growing concerns of immigrant crime in this community against Jacksonville residents. And so when I see stuff like ensure our community is safe, safe against who? Safe against who? Vice President Carrico? Safe against who? Because unless City Council has been made privy to data and information that the general public has not been made aware of, sir, what are you talking about? Going back to something that Mayor Deegan said when this whole bill was an issue a couple of weeks ago, she stated, there are already federal and state laws in place that will safeguard us. We don't need this additional bill in Jacksonville. And then she took it a measure further and stated, and as a matter of fact, I think this bill is going to make the city vulnerable to lawsuits. So maybe I'm too naive in my thinking. Maybe, no. I'll say it a different way. Maybe I'm too unlearned. I'll put it that way. Because I'm not a political guy. I'm just a guy. A jag. No pun intended, because we were talking about the Jags a little bit ago. But I'm just a guy. J-A-G. So no, I don't have all of the political know-how and knowledge and background and experience. I don't. But I do know how to think. I can rationalize. I can do critical thinking. Shout out to Ronnie Smith, who was one of my professors when I was attending Edward Waters. And I remember one of the things that he would drill into us whenever we were in his class was the importance of being able to critically think in American society. And as I turn on my critical thinker, the only assessment, the only conclusion that I can postulate is this little buzz phrase, ensure our community is safe, in relation to this immigration bill. I call it a buzz phrase because you know where we also hear talk like that, rhetoric like that? We hear it coming from the White House. So the only thing that I can surmise is that our local city council, no different than our governor's office here in the state of Florida, is attempting to mimic things that we see coming out of the White House. They want to be lock and step with whatever the political agenda of the day is, to appear to be in agreement with their party. It's not about what's right for the community. It's not about what's best for the citizens. This is a political circus. And so I'm glad that Maria Garcia and the other Jacksonville Immigrant Rights Alliance were out protesting yesterday, allowing their voices to be heard. Someone else that I have to call out along this same issue is the University of North Florida, because they, along with other universities around the state, have signed an agreement with ICE, allowing ICE to come and do deportations on their campus. That doesn't make sense to me. Because I stated a couple of weeks ago, how is it, University of whatever Florida institution you are, how is it that these students were able to enroll in your campus, into your institution of higher learning, and the documentation that they provided was good enough for them to enroll into your school's programs? Their documentation was good enough for you to take their money. But now, all of a sudden, because there's this federal agenda surrounding immigration, now you have concerns about safety on your campus, and you want ICE to come and do deportations on your campus? Well, let's take it a layer further, shall we? We here now. And if you'd like to dive in on the conversation, 833-758-1065. Would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. That's 833-758-1065. Since we're here and we're talking about community safety, let's talk about community safety. Now, we didn't have a live show for Front Page last week, so we didn't have an opportunity to address it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but the active shooter last week at FSU, on the campus of FSU, was not an immigrant. As a matter of fact, he was the son of a Leon County sheriff's deputy. Homegrown, American, U.S. of A. And if I allow my critical thinker to expand a little bit more, and I consider the other active shooters across this country, I don't recall any of them being immigrants. So I ask the question again. Protecting the community from who? Or is this just something where, again, the political circus, we're going to target who we think the political party and agenda will be in support of, and we ostracize this particular community? I've been saying it since the election, and I'm going to continue to reiterate it. We are headed somewhere, whether you voted for him or not. We are headed somewhere. And more, day by day, I'm quite confident we are not going to like the destination that we arrive to. Because for whatever reason, call it party affiliations, political alliances, hidden agendas, super PACs with their money, whatever you want to refer to it as, for some reason, rather than common sense winning the day, individuals think it's more important. Well, shoot, not just individuals, but groups, parties, think it's more important to uphold appearances. It's more important to show that, hey, I'm aligned with you. We're the same. Us against them. These are people's lives that are being impacted. These are families that are being torn apart. This is not right. Where are the strong community leaders? Where are the strong political figures who are willing to stand up and say, this is not right? Because this isn't right. And I don't support it. 833-758-1065 is the number to call if you'd like to jump on Front Page Jacksonville. Another topic I want to touch on very quickly before we go to the break. Did you see where there was a district fire chief for JFRD? He's under investigation and has been reassigned to desk duty after allegedly forcing a Muslim firefighter to break his Ramadan fast. Ugh. That's a slippery slope. And I get it, right? So apparently here's what had happened. What had happened was they was at the fire station. They were having a dinner together. You know, all the firefighters who are on shift, they're having a dinner together. And the news source did not name neither the fire chief nor the firefighter who experienced this. But, you know, they all at the fire station, they eating, right? Well, the gentleman who is practicing Ramadan, he wasn't participating because it's Ramadan. He's fasting. Ramadan starts February 28th and is observed through the month of March. This incident took place in the month of March. Well, the fire chief sees that the gentleman isn't partaking, calls him out, and doesn't just call him out, but is shouting at him. And then he says, if you don't eat with us, I'm cutting your hours and your pay if you don't comply. Now, again, the news source does not state the name of the firefighter in question. So we don't know if this gentleman has a family or not. Let's assume he does. And if he's the primary breadwinner in his home, and now your district chief is threatening to cut back on your hours, cut your pay, if you don't partake and break bread with the rest of your fire brethren, what are you going to do? Well, the news story tells us the firefighter complied. He broke his Ramadan fast because he did not want the threat of the district chief to impact his pay, impact his hours. Well, now that fire chief is under investigation. And the last I checked, okay, I've shared with you before, in my day job, I oversee a team of nearly 20 people across 4 counties. So I have to be very astute when it comes to human resources knowledge and information in terms of the do's and the don'ts, the stuff that'll get you in trouble. And when you start talking about discrimination against a person's faith belief, yeah. I'm going to keep an eye on this story because once this investigation runs its course, I wouldn't be surprised if the person's hours and pay that's cut is the district fire chief's. 833-758-1065 is the number to call if you'd like to join Front Page Jacksonville. Stick around. We got more on the way. And in just a few moments, we got a brother in the studio. We're going to talk a little bit about an event that's going down next Saturday at my alma mater, Sandalwood High School, recognizing some of the achievements of the young people in the Jacksonville community. I'm talking about Dr. Gregory Bostic of the Alpha Kappa. See, I was checking to see Alpha Phi Alpha. I'm teasing with Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Stick around. More's on the way.
Now back to the show that informs you and discusses the issues. Front Page Jacksonville on Hot 106.5.
Pop quiz for you. Are you experiencing any pain with your teeth? Is there any dental work that you've been avoiding? Because maybe you don't like the dentist. I'm one of those people. I do not like going to the dentist office. They are doctors of torture, in my humble opinion. Now, I say this to you. I have a mouth full of braces. Over the past year and a half, I've had a lot of dental work done. And I'm going to tell you something. They are confirming what I just stated. They are doctors of torture. Yeah, they're going to give you the pain medicine and all that. But how is it that one of the most sensitive parts of the body requires such sharp tools and instruments, and they have no concern for how much pressure they apply when they start poking you? Have you ever had to go in for a deep cleaning and they come at you with that needle and say, don't move, player. You have a needle that you are sticking in my mouth. Well, if you are experiencing dental pain and you don't have dental insurance, I'd like to tell you about the Apple Project. Now, the Apple Project is a program here in Jacksonville that if you don't have dental care, dental insurance, you are able to get free dental care, free dental insurance. And the doctors of torture, maybe I shouldn't say that because that may scare you from wanting to go. But the dentist who performed the work, it's all voluntary. So if that sounds like something that you want to be a part of, the number to call, 904-573-1333. That's 573-1333. Now, I joke about the dentist office, but you and I both know that it's actually a very strong concern, because what may simply be a toothache today could turn into an infection tomorrow, could lead to your unfortunate demise. People have passed away due to untreated dental issues. And heaven forbid if you try to go to the emergency room, they can't help you. They aren't dental professionals in the ER. But you can call 573-1333, the Apple Project. The Apple Project, that is the name of the project. And as a matter of fact, the Apple Project is an extension. What is this organization's name? I'm going to give you the actual organization's name here that the Apple Project is an extension of. And sure, they won't just have it up on their website, but you can go to chojax.org. chojax.org is the organization that the Apple Project is working with. So again, if you need dental work, 573-1333 is the number to call if you'd like to partake in what the Apple Project is offering. And then one other quick thing before I bring on our guest today. There is a summer beach warning. All right, now it's getting hot outside. We had a beautiful weekend. I don't know about you, but I got outside a little bit. I had a chance to soak in some of that sunshine. Jack is shaking his head. He got some of that sunshine.
Need that tan, man.
Yay. Did you go to the beach or anything this weekend?
I was laying outside getting, vitamin C, vitamin D, but I'm meaning to get to the beach soon. It's almost that time.
It's almost that time, man. And because of that, Jacksonville Beach Ocean Rescue is warning people about beach safety ahead of summer. So Lieutenant Maxwell Irvinane, he said that as we get closer to summer, more people will start going to the beach. And with that comes concerns, because we have to pay close attention to the different colored flags that indicate the ocean's conditions. Now, when you go to the beach, if you didn't know this is a great opportunity for you to hear it right here on Front Page Jacksonville. Do you know what the different colored flags represent at the beach? Now, red, if you see red flags, that means that there is a high hazard and strong currents. That's the conditions of the water. High hazard, strong currents. Purple means that there are stinging marine life in the water, jellyfish, and whatever other marine life. 'Cause look, I ain't lost nothing in the ocean, so I don't have to worry about stinging marine life. But you may be the type of person that enjoys going to the beach, enjoys the marine life. So Ocean Rescue said that the number one thing they want to stress is to never swim alone and always swim in front of a lifeguard. He also added, if someone is in distress in the water, don't try to help them if you are not trained. We see so many instances, and I believe there was just an instance a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago out in Hannah Park, where a teen drowned due to getting caught up in a rip current. Listen, we live in Florida. Beautiful weather, beautiful beaches, beautiful water. And because we live here, we can oftentimes become too complacent and too familiar with our surroundings to the point that we forget how dangerous nature can be.
With the talk about, people getting caught up in rip currents, some just to add, so my roommate, he's from New Jersey. He's lived here for about 3-4 years now. He had no clue what the flags were or if they even meant anything to add on. So imagine people coming down for vacation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what are they thinking, if anything at all? And it's just like, man, like, come on. It's just safety, man.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what the different colored flags meant. I didn't. I'm not a beach goer. I've seen the flags whenever the last time was I went out to the beach, but I didn't know what the different colors meant. And here's something else I'll share with you. You may say, oh, $1 Million Voice, we hear you. I'm good. I know how to swim. I know how to swim too. Howsoever, swimming in the pool and swimming in the ocean, those are two different types of swimming. I'll share a quick story with you. This is more than a couple of years ago. It's almost been 2 decades ago. I called myself going on a vacation with the young lady I was dating at the time. We went down to the Bahamas, okay? And we did the excursions. It's a cruise, so we do one of the excursions. The excursion, we get to go snorkeling. So we out there in the water, and they give you the option. You can either walk down the steps, or you can just jump off the side of the boat. Well, Jack, I got the young lady that I'm dating. I'm trying to be Mr. Tough Guy.
Let me hop off the boat.
I'm going to hop off the boat, Jack. I know how to swim. Jack, I jumped off that boat, and oh my God, the water was not the same as at the swimming pool, okay? They had to, the gentlemen who are on the boat, they're Bahamian, so they're native. They're like, brother, here, put this vest on. I was splashing and choking in the middle of the ocean. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last too long. I made a fool of myself. So hear me out. Don't be fooled. I'm fooled. Don't be like me, okay? Swimming in the pool, swimming in the ocean, two different types of swim. So when you talk about rip currents and all those other things that can be potential hazards as we're swimming, please, 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 please exercise safety this summer if you're going to spend time out at the beach. Hey, stick around. We have a great, great brother here in the studio with us. In just a few moments, we're going to talk to you about the Ezekiel Bryant High School recognition that's taking place next weekend at Sandalwood High School. This is Front Page Jacksonville.
The heartbeat of the community. Front Page Jacksonville returns on Hot 106.5.
Next Saturday, the Brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Upsilon Lambda Chapter will present the Ezekiel Bryant High School Recognition Awards at my alma mater, Sandalwood High School. And joining me in the studio this morning is the president of the Upsilon Lambda Chapter, Dr. Gregory Bostic. Good morning, Dr. Bostic. How are you today?
Good morning, great morning, great morning.
And you are also the principal of Jean Ribault High School.
You got that kind of right. It's not Ribault, it's John Ribault High School. I am the great principal of John Ribault High School.
All right, so and thank you for correcting me with that, because you and I had an opportunity to speak off mic. In Jacksonville, and for as long as I can remember, we've always called it Ribault, Bolt. That's always been how we've pronounced it. But break it down for us. Jean Ribault.
Okay.
Where's the pronunciation, and why the proper pronunciation?
Let me give you a little background. When I first moved to Jacksonville, I'm not from Jacksonville. It was Ribault. And then, when I go home, they're, you at Ribault, and I correct them, it's Ribault. Because you do this little background, you need to learn about the school with it. And when I realized he's a Frenchman. So it's Ribault. When you go into look, it's Jean, and some people say Jean, and then they're so off base. But it's Jean Ribault because he's a Frenchman. And now I know that people in the surrounding area, not just in Jacksonville, but across, they say, you at Ribault, and I definitely correct them and say it's Ribault. So most of the students at John Ribault High School are saying Ribault High School, because if they don't, I'm known to correct them to say it's Ribault. And I know that it's a shift for the community. I know that it's a shift, but we want to make sure we say that great name correctly. So as we're on this radio, please say Ribault High School.
I got you. It's Ribault moving forward. It's Ribault.
Correct.
But I love the fact that you mentioned you intentionally not only correct the students, but creating a new culture. Of a paradigm shift for the students as it relates to the history of the school. Rich history.
Very rich.
Ribault and Raines, probably outside of Stanton, probably two of the most premier schools on the north side that have attributed to a lot of the success of the African-American community. We think about the Northwest Classic. Right? So with this new culture that you're creating with your students, let's just start there with the name. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what are you hoping your current students will be able to do for the Jacksonville community with re-understanding who Jean Ribault was?
Well, one thing is that giving them that opportunity to explore and engage in different things as it relate to the school. One thing that I know years ago, like you brought up the Northwest, it was so much pride on that north side. It was so much pride. And when you talk about just the area of Jacksonville, believe it or not, people think those are only two schools in Jacksonville, Ribault and Raines.
The culture is so immense just from those two schools alone.
It is. And I just want to bring back that pride that they had years ago. Now our young generation have so many other things they want to focus on. So I'm trying to bring back that pride, that pride. Because when I talk to, like I said, I'm not from Jacksonville, but when I talk to people that were here originally, and when all that great pride was there, I'm having them come into the school and share those experiences with our students that are currently, because a lot of them don't know. Just this past a couple of weeks ago, I had what we call a town hall meeting. And I brought alumni from Ribault to come in and talk to our students. Some talk with the females, some talk with the young men, to instill that pride back in it, that North Side pride. When you walk out, and I share with them all that, when you go in different parts of this world and you say you're from John Reboe High School, that means a lot. That means you have no idea what that means. And I tell people, when I've been a principal for a while, but it seems like when I was assigned to be the principal at John Reboe High School, they make it feel like I've arrived.
Wow.
I was someone before I came to principal at John Reboe. But it means it's powerful. Raines and Reboe, I'm just going to say for both schools, it means a lot in this community to be a part of that rich history. You
mentioned what you're doing now with just creating a new culture for the current students. What's your relationship like with the alum? It's very close. They come in. Sometimes it's a little too close because they want to tell me how they used to do it. And I share with them, well, that's how you used to do it, but things have evolved. We have to capture the kids, our students that are current. And I don't want to take away from their history. I just want to add to it. Sure.
Never want to take away from them because they have a lot of history that I'm not aware of.
Sure.
So I listen. I listen and I listen. And then I say, let's do something to enhance that culture or that pride that was here years ago. So I never want to take anything away from what has existed in John. I just want to enhance it, make it better.
Absolutely. And with that, today's society is very different from just, 20 years ago when I was in high school. When you think about the high schooler of today compared to the high schoolers of yesterday, what are some of the challenges that you see high schoolers today having to face that we probably didn't necessarily have to navigate?
Peer pressure, mental health, a lot of things that, and I say this to a lot of parents, a lot of students, things that they go through now, I didn't have to go through those things. We have to ensure that our campus are safe and making sure that we definitely are providing them for the next level, whether it be college, whether it be a career. So we have to instill those things more. We have to go deeper into that now because you know the way of the world. Things are different. That technology is good in some places, but sometimes we use it for disadvantages. And so we have to ensure that kids have a safe place, making sure that academic achievement is continual, and making sure that their mental health stages are good. So those are some things, and peer pressure. It's a lot of, and when I think about when I was in school, a lot of those things that the students are going through now, I didn't have to go through those.
Right. You all are getting a new school.
Absolutely.
When is it expected to open?
They're expected to be finished by the end of June. And we are.
Wow. So this summer?
Yes.
So 2025-2026 school year, Jean Reboe will be brand new. Students will have an opportunity to experience the new school. Oh, exactly. Wow. I got to come over for a tour.
I'll let you. I'll see what I can do for you.
Man, I would love to come.
You went to Sandalwood, so I'll see if I'll allow you to come into that building.
The fact that you said Sandalwood, see, we're getting somewhere. You didn't say Sandal who. We getting so that's progress. That's progress. But you were sharing with me off mic. There's a program that you're bringing to the school, to the new school.
Correct.
You mentioned that you were originally considering TV production, but you decided to expand it a little bit.
Right. Well, when we go into the new building, just to let you know, we already have early college. We have the ViStar program. We have Marine ROTC. But I wanted to expand and give our students, and once again, I'm always about those 3 E's, educating, engaging, and exposing our students. So one thing that we're going to add, one of the programs, we're adding culinary, and then we're going to add where students can come into a lab and make music. Design the music because they love a beat. Give me a beat. So they love a beat. So we're creating a lab where students can come in and they can create their own style of music. So that probably taking those those students that are interested in being a producer, they can get that CTE certification and go higher. And hey, that's another rich history about John Reboe High School.
I love that on so many different levels because, as you know, within the African-American community, many of us are kinesthetic learners. And we love a beat.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think about, quick story. So as a child, I lived in Germany for a period of time. My mom's first husband, he was Army. And so we moved to Germany. I think I was 4 Well, here in America, a child starts kindergarten at 5.
Okay.
In Germany, it's 4.
Wow.
My mom didn't know that. And so while she was getting my brother set up and situated for school, she then learned that she had to also sign me up for school. But school was the next day. I didn't know how to spell my name. I didn't know my birthday. And I'm 4, all I know about is Cheerios and Sesame Street. My mom came up with a song spelling my name the night before I started school, and I learned it like that.
Oh, wow.
And so when you speak about implementing music into education, not music theory, right? But music education, I believe that our students will grab onto that like nobody's business.
Absolutely.
Why music production? Did the students say they wanted this, or was this something that you came up with?
Well, good question. That was something I feel as though that we needed in the community. So, and then I shared that information with the students, and they were excited. So when you look at a school, you say, what are the demands and what do you think the students in that area need? Not just in that area.
Yeah.
And that is something that no other school has.
Yeah.
In Jacksonville. So I wanted something different for our kids. So that's where we came up with that.
While we're on this topic, academic excellence is one of the pillars of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. This Saturday, you all have the Ezekiel Bryant High School Recognition Awards taking place at Sandalwood High School, right? Let's talk very quickly about who Ezekiel Bryant was.
Okay, absolutely. First, let me give you a little history.
Please.
We've been doing this program since the 1950s. And it was under the name of Scholarship Educational Program. And it evolved into Dr. Ezekiel Bryant. If you didn't know, Dr. Ezekiel Bryant was the first African-American president for FSCJ North Campus. He served there for about 20 years.
And real quick, that's back when it was FCCJ.
Right.
But now it's FSCJ. Yes, sir.
Correct. And so, but then also just a known fact, did you know that he used to be the second principal at William Marion Raines High School?
I did not know that.
No.
Wow.
He was definitely the principal. But he was a visionary. He was a leader. He was an educator. So once we started doing this program, we started about, let's name it behind this great man. But just to let you, all alpha men are great men. So we just said, let's pick Dr. Ezekiel Bryant. And we've been doing this program for a while. It identifies students across the district that have a 3.5 GPA unweighted or weighted, and they have to provide community service. So what we do, we recognize those students and give them scholarships, a college of their choice. I really wish that most of them would go to the world's greatest university. Let me throw that in. That's Florida A&M University.
I knew you was about to see.
Yeah,
we're going to wrap this interview up, Doc.
Go Rattlers, go Rattlers. But I'm like this. I do, but I want them to be able to go anywhere they choose, they would like to go to. And I tell students all the time, just you let them pick you. So you apply for colleges around the world, and then you pick where you want to go. Yeah. So that's what the program, this year I think we have about 30-some young men. Because every person across the district that meet that qualification is provided the opportunity to apply for the scholarship. So once they do all the necessary paperwork and all, then we award them with some scholarships.
So what give us a rundown, rather a walkthrough. What does that day look like for the event?
The day is, we'll have the president, which is myself, we're doing opening, acknowledging the young people that's coming in, and then we'll give an overview, and then at that time we will provide them with, call them up and provide them with the check or the money, and then after that we'll have lunch. A breakfast for not only the recipients, but the family.
Wow. And so once they apply to be a part of this program, how do you determine? What's the selection process?
We normally have them to write a essay. Okay. And then I tell the Brotherhood, I said, the way we're going to do this, we're not going to I'm not going to read the essay because I don't want it. I want it to be someone outside of the fraternity. So normally I would get some of my literacy coach, my reading coach at the school, and we don't put the names on it. I have a sheet with the names on it. Then we'll ask them to score them. So they don't know who is writing what. Right. And so they will score them, and based on that, that's how we arrive at who's going to receive the scholarships.
Wow.
But most times, every kid that applies receives something.
Yeah, yeah. And when they receive these scholarships, they can attend any college.
College or it don't have to be a 4-year college. It can be a tier-year university or a vocational school. So, yes, they have to, provide us with the information that you've been accepted into a university. You don't want to just give you the money, but you have to provide certain documentations to us, and it helps us for tax purposes and all that stuff. So once they provide us that information, then we will give the check to them. We don't necessarily send it to the school. We give it to the individual.
I was going to ask that as well. Well, excellent. Well, Dr. Bostic, thank you so much to both yourself and the Brotherhood of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity for everything that you're doing to deposit back into the lives of these young men. Something that I've shared on this show before, I see a lot of programming that helps to elevate young ladies of color, which we need that. Don't get me wrong. However, I love the fact that young men are also being given an opportunity to shine. And Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity is helping these young men be able to do that. So thank you so much to your service to our community. No problem.
Thank you so much. Also, let me throw this plug in as well.
Yes, please.
We do offer scholarships. We do an doing the MLK. We do an oratorical contest there. And also, the young men have to do it and they are presented with scholarships. So we do that as well. We do have a Men of Valor program that we help young people from elementary up into high school that we mentor, and it just happened yesterday. So we do that at the Westside Church of God in Christ off of Firestone, maybe, but we do that as well. So we do a lot of things out in the community on a daily basis.
Now, I have to ask, simply because on the heels of us speaking about the music production program that you're going to bring over there to Rebo, if the young men wanted to do a spoken word or rap during the oratorical competition, is that allowed, or does it have to be more speech?
It has to be more
form.
Speech.
Got it.
It has to be in more speech form.
Hey, well, maybe that's something y'all can throw in next year. You never know. You'll switch it up a little bit.
Don't come in trying to switch up what we do now, but we'll give it some thought now. Don't come try to switch up stuff that what we do.
I understand. He said it's been working just fine. Don't try to change up our stuff.
Don't try to change up.
He's the president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Upsilon Lambda chapter here in Jacksonville, and the principal of Jean Ribot High School, Dr. Gregory Bostic. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today here on Front Page Jacksonville.
Thank you for having me. Anytime.
Absolutely. Stick around. More is on the way.
Front Page Jacksonville resumes on High 106.5.
Hurricane season is fast approaching. It is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. I say hurricane season is fast approaching. I believe hurricane season kicks off in June, and it lasts through the end of November. Well, the executive director for the Florida Division of Emergency Management wants you to know that we need to begin preparing now. Kevin Guthrie, who's a proud native of Jacksonville, said that one of the biggest mistakes people make is complacency. Talking about us Floridians. One of the biggest mistakes that we make is complacency, and stated that a hurricane could happen at any point here in Jacksonville. And here on the First Coast, we're kind of overdue for a storm system coming our way. Now, I don't want to hear that. I'm sure you don't want to hear that either. But fact of the matter is, we are surrounded by a body of water called the ocean. I was mentioning it prior to our last guest about my conundrum decision to jump in the ocean when I was down in the Bahamas, because I figured I could swim, I can handle it. I could not handle it. Jack, they came and put that daggone life preserver on me so fast, man. Salt water all up and down my nose, snot, because I'm trying to breathe. Oh, it was embarrassing. It was not one of my finer moments. But hurricane season is fast approaching. So, pop quiz for you. Do you have a hurricane preparedness kit? Now, I'll be honest, I don't have one. I need to get one. In the past, pretty much what we've done at my house is, once hurricane season comes and, the meteorologist is saying, hey, this particular storm system is coming through, you got, because they can pretty much track these storms. So usually as the storm is en route to our area, or believed to be en route to our area is when we would, have typically gone out to the store to grab some items. And then lo and behold, you know what we're used to here in Jacksonville. The storm is supposed to pass through. We typically see more of a tropical storm more than anything. Power goes out. Internet goes out. All of the hurricane snacks gone before the hurricane even get here, before the tropical storm even get here. Hurricane snacks gone, okay? Our son, when he was younger, he would literally take the flashlights that we would get for hurricane season and play Star Wars with it, like as if they were lightsabers. And so after a while, we stopped getting flashlights because he kept either breaking the flashlights or draining all of the batteries. So then we just kind of got to the point where it was like, we'll just wing it. We'll ride it out. We'll be okay. Complacency. See, I shared this with you to be transparent, to let you know that if you are complacent or have been complacent, you aren't the only one. I've been that same way. But I do not have a hurricane preparedness kit. So because they're already putting the call out for us Floridians to mount up and get ready for hurricane season, I want to share with you what is being recommended to go in our hurricane preparedness kit. Number one, a first aid kit. I don't have one of those. We got some Band-Aids up in the cabinet, but I don't have a first aid kit. Inside your first aid kit, you want to have bandages, antiseptics, pain relievers, antiseptic wipes, gauze, pads, and other necessary medications. Yeah, there's a whole lot that we will need to add to our quote-unquote first aid kit. Next up, water. The third item for the hurricane preparedness kit, non-perishable food. See, right there. Snacks. The hurricane snacks. We be having hurricane parties. And see, I know you do too. I be on social media during the tropical storm, and you know as well as I. We don't take those storms, had not been taking those storms seriously. I be seeing y'all post all about it. Flashlights and batteries. Next, battery-powered or hand-crank radio. I don't know if that's even necessary nowadays. I guess, because even though, we can access a lot of things from our mobile devices, if the power goes out, you can't charge your mobile device. So I guess a battery-powered radio still has its place. Important documents, driver's license, social security cards, all of that good stuff. Hygiene supplies, medications, device chargers. I just mentioned that. Now, there are some portable chargers that you can purchase. We had one a couple of years back where basically it's a portable device. You charge the device, and then once you've charged that device, you can plug up to 8 other mobile devices that could get a charge. And if I remember correctly, that portable device that I'm just referring to, I think it had like up to an 8-hour battery life that it would be able to sustain. Tools and supplies, clothing and blankets, emergency cash. Now, emergency cash, that is definitely one that I have to get better at because I do not carry cash on me. I got introduced to Apple Pay, and it changed my life forever. I barely carry a wallet because I have my driver's license. It's digital. My insurance card, it's digital. Now all I got to do is just tap my phone to pay. Carry cash for why? However, I get it. Again, if the network goes down, if I lose battery life on my phone, I need to have cash on hand. You need to have cash on hand. Pet supplies and shelter-in-place supplies. So those are the items that we want to make sure we get added into our hurricane preparedness kit this year. I'm going to do better. Now, I'm not going to sit here on Hot 106.5 FM radio and tell you I'm going to do all 14 of these items on this hurricane preparedness list. I can't tell you that. I can't commit to that. But here's what I can commit to. I can't commit to doing better. So here's what I mean by doing better. This is what doing better looks like for me. Traditionally, I've made certain to stock up on water. So that's a given. This year, I'm going to commit to adding at least 2 to 3 other items to my hurricane preparedness kit. And I'm going to also do my best to not consume all of the hurricane snacks before the tropical storm gets here. And please understand, I don't make light. I'm saying this, quite jovially, but I'm not making light of hurricane season because I have seen firsthand the devastation that a hurricane can cause a community. So I understand what can come along with a hurricane. I'm speaking specifically here in DUUVAL, Northeast Florida, because thankfully we have been able to be graced to not experience the full brunt of a storm over the past couple of years. But I have seen communities, I've been a part of communities that have been impacted directly by the storm. I'm truly hoping that this hurricane season, the Clearwater, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg community is able to experience some relief. Last year, 2024 hurricane season, that community was hit very hard. 2022 hurricane season, that community was hit very hard. So I'm truly hoping that that community will be spared from having to experience, and a lot of those families still haven't fully recovered from last hurricane season. So I'm truly hoping that they experience a reprieve this year and hopefully for many years to come so that they can, get a sense of normalcy once again. Hoping that hurricane season won't cause an extreme level of anxiety for those families. Hoping that with a lot of the things that we're seeing take place at the federal level with DOGE and everything else, that FEMA isn't completely gutted and that families will have an opportunity to rely on additional resources and assistance if Mother Nature does come knocking on any particular Florida resident's community in the form of a hurricane. Man, last year, I remember being down in the Largo/Clearwater area, handing out hurricane relief supplies. We were out there for 8 hours, and I threw so many boxes of water, my hands were raw. Like the pads of my hands, it hurt to touch anything because of me lifting so many boxes of water, putting them in people's cars. But I tell you what, I'm grateful to have been able to do it. I'm grateful to have been able to step up to the plate to help out brothers and sisters in need in the community. And so that is one thing that I am confident of. I am confident that, heaven forbid, a hurricane comes. But if any of the Florida communities are impacted by a hurricane this season, I am confident that Florida residents, Florida businesses, Florida organizations are going to mount up and step up to serve, to help those families be able to recover. And I'm confident in that because I seen it firsthand. And man, they organized so quickly. They organized so quickly to make sure families could get what they needed, the proper resources. 833-758-1065 is the number to call if you'd like to join here on Front Page Jacksonville. We have a few minutes left in the show, but stick around. Going to bring a little bit more information your way before we bring the show to a close. Stick around.
Now back to the show that informs you and discusses the issues. Front Page Jacksonville on Hot 106.5.
Shout out to Westside High This past week, they hosted their third annual Community Day event. LaToya Walker, who is a school advisor there at Westside High, said that they wanted to make sure students understood all of the programs at their disposal so that they can have a beneficial future. So nursing programs, mental health programs, ROTC and Army programs, those are some of the different programs they had on display there at Westside High. Look, here's the fact of the matter. College is not for everyone. College isn't for everyone. Now, I'm grateful that I was able to go to college. I've shared this story before about how I didn't believe I was smart enough for college. But Edward Waters College, now known as Edward Waters University, gave me an opportunity. They gave me a shot. But college isn't for everybody. And I have friends who have not gone to college, but have still been able to build a pretty good life for themselves. And I got to tell you, especially with the announcement of how they're about to start garnishing the wages of people who are in default with their student loans. Parents, do you really want your child, who may be in middle school right now, maybe they're just entering high school, do you really want them weighing the financial burden of student loan debt? My wife and I have had the conversations throughout the years. If I knew then what I know now as it relates to financing my college education, I would have done some things completely differently. See, in my scenario, I didn't believe I was smart enough to go to college, so I definitely didn't understand the importance or the benefit of applying for college scholarships. We had Dr. Gregory Bostic in a moment ago with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, also the principal of Jean Ribault High School. And he spoke about how the fraternity is giving away scholarships next weekend. I wish I understood the significance of college scholarships as a younger man. Because here's the thing, there are other alternatives. In today's day and age, we are in the information age, and I'm pretty sure that age is going to be changing here soon because there is so much at our disposal right at the tips of our fingers. So much. YouTube University, you can learn just about anything you want. Trade schools are there. Students, whether it's welding, whether it's plumbing, electrician, HVAC, whatever the case may be, there are a plethora of opportunities for young people to build an amazing career for themselves without going to a traditional college. Now, I'm not anti-college. I'm not. But I am pro-choice, pro-opportunity, pro-diversity. Because the way a lot of these student loans are looking, the cost of a college education, it may not make sense for some of you, and that's okay. The way your child's attention span is set up, putting in 4 years at a university and all the credit hours that are necessary before they can get a degree, it may not be for them. So as a parent, you may have to be okay with that. You have to know your child. I know my son, he's 15. Based on his temperament right now, his personality right now, that young man is not going to want to see anybody's college. He doesn't like school. Extremely intelligent, but he doesn't like the construct of school. His exact words to me, 2 years ago, we were at one of his cousin's birthday parties. And so he and his older cousin, they're about 2 years apart. They're having a conversation about how neither one of them likes school. My nephew Demetrius is the cousin, their first cousins. And so Demetrius says, man, I don't like school. It reminds me of prison. my son, OJ, he said, bro, that's what I'm saying. They tell us when to eat. They tell us when to change. He said, man, it feels like jail. I don't like it. And I could not disagree with him. I couldn't disagree. So college may not be for you. It may not be for your child, but I love what Westside High did here by at least presenting these young people with other options and opportunities. Now, don't get me wrong. If my son came to me and told me that he wants to go to college, I'm all in. If my son came to me and told me he doesn't want to go to college, I'm all in. However, he has to have a plan. As long as he has a plan, and I'm not saying he has to have a plan that's going to figure out his entire life at 18 years old. That's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. I'm 46, and I'm still trying to figure out things with my own life. Okay? So I'm not expecting the young man to have it all figured out at 18. But, son, I just need to know what your plan is. What is it that you want to do right here, right now? He's a phenomenal sketch artist. If you say, oh, well, you know, I just want to do my art. All right, cool. Well, let's come up with a plan on how you can monetize that. All right, so, son, what you're really saying is you want to be a business owner. Because your art is your product. You can sell it this way, da-da-da-da-da. All right, hey, well, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we look into some classes that you can take? Not necessarily college classes, but the small business, the Small Business Administration. They have these classes where they'll teach you how to get your business up and running as an entrepreneur. You know, things like that. Rather than him saying, oh, well, I'm going to go to college for 4 years and major in pottery. Horticulture. No, man, that's good. What type of career are you going to do with that? Nah. Don't go to college just for the sake of going to college. So shout out once again to Westside High for giving these young people an opportunity, expanding their horizons on what's available to them beyond traditional school. 833-758-1065 is the number to call if you'd like to jump on Front Page Jacksonville. To give you a quick recap, a few of the different things that we've discussed today. Of course, we spoke about hurricane preparedness. Hurricane season is fast approaching. It'll be here before you know it, which is in June. You want to make sure that you and your family have your hurricane preparedness kit. Also, along the same lines of hurricane season, it does coincide with the summer. During the summertime, families like to go out, enjoy the weather, enjoy the beach. But if you go to the beach, make sure you're paying attention to the warnings of the water. Remember, when you go to the beach and you see the different colored flags, they are communicating something to us. Red flags means that the water is a high hazard and there are strong currents. Purple flags mean there are stinging marine life in the water. We also had Dr. Gregory Bostic, the chapter president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, the Epsilon Lambda chapter. They are hosting the Ezekiel Bryant High School Recognition Awards this upcoming Saturday at Sandalwood High School. That's going down on May 3rd, where they are distributing scholarships to young men who want to continue matriculating either in college or at a trade school. I also told you about the Apple Project. If you do not have dental insurance, you do not have to endure whatever tooth pain or oral issues you may be experiencing, because with the Apple Project, you are able to get free dental care. If you'd like to contact the organization that supports the Apple Project, their number is 573-1333. That's 573-1333. We also highlighted the immigration rally that took place on yesterday, where members of the Jacksonville Immigrant Rights Alliance, they rallied on the corner of Beach Boulevard and Southside, pretty much letting it be known, hey, we are against the deportation of immigrants, the mass deportation of immigrants that we're seeing taking place, not only around the country, but even locally. Locally, as you know, City Council Vice President Kevin Carrico supported the new immigration bill that City Council passed last month. Mayor Donna Deegan did not sign the bill. She was against it. But according to Vice President Carrico, he says that we're taking decisive action to ensure our community is safe, and we are fully supporting federal and state authorities in enforcing immigration laws. I told you about the JFRD district chief who is under investigation for forcing a Muslim firefighter to break his Ramadan fast so that this firefighter could have dinner with the other firefighters at the station. That is a violation. That is a no-no. You cannot do that. We must respect individuals' religious preferences and those things that they observe during their religious preferences. That is a no-no. And then, of course, we kicked off the show talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. Shedeur Sanders was finally drafted yesterday in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. And there's a lot of speculation on why he fell so far during the draft. Originally, he was projected to go in the 1st round, and then they thought he would go in the 2nd round, and then they thought maybe the 3rd round. No, he went in the 5th round. But that's okay, because he still went. He still went. Now, hopefully, now that he is in the league, my hope for him is that he will have the opportunity to actually get on the field and play lights out. I'm rooting for Shedeur. I hope that young man prove everybody and they mama wrong who were against him. I hope he proves them wrong. I hope he goes out there and does something that nobody ever thought could be done on a football field. Because that's what his daddy did. Prime time. And some people think that Deion's involvement, how preposterous is this? Some people believe that because of Deion's involvement in his son's life, that negatively impacted Shedeur's draft capital. Draft stock. That is ridiculous. But you know what? We hadn't heard any type of uproars or pushback or backlash when Peyton and Eli Manning were being drafted. Their dad, I can't think of their dad's for Archie. Their dad, Archie Manning, he played in the NFL. He was involved with his sons. I don't know what it is with the National Football League and African-American men at that quarterback position. There are 32 teams in the National Football League, 32 owners in the National Football League, one minority owner of an NFL franchise, our very own Shad Khan. But there's a pervasive something amongst the 31 other teams, the owners, when it comes to African-American men in that quarterback position. And not to say all, because, of course, I can go down the list. Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Caleb Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on of African-American quarterbacks. So we really can't hang it on the fact that Shedeur is African-American, honestly. I don't think that's it at all. But what is it? It definitely seemed like it was something. Maybe it's something personal. I know national media is saying that maybe his dad rubbed NFL owners the wrong way back in his day, and so this was their way of, letting the sins of the father pass on to the son. I don't know. But I know the Cleveland Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders. I hope that Shedeur has an opportunity to take the field. I hope Shedeur Sanders has an opportunity to prove them all wrong. And our very own Jacksonville Jaguars, they pulled a power move Thursday night. They were supposed to draft in the 5th position. But James Gladstone, the new general manager, picked up the phone, called the Cleveland Browns and said, "Hey, I got an offer you can't refuse. I want to make an offer you can't refuse." And he offered the Cleveland Browns our draft picks, some draft picks, so the Jags can move up into the number 2 position, which would mean the Cleveland Browns would fall back into the 5th position with picking. The Cleveland Browns accepted. And without hesitation, James Gladstone, who pretty soon we're going to have to give him the nickname Stones. We're going to start calling him Stones. He went and got Travis Hunter. Listen, the young man plays 2 positions. He was the top wide receiver in college, the top wide receiver coming out of high school. He was the top cornerback in college, the top cornerback in high school. He's the Heisman Trophy winner from this past season. Jaguars said, "Yep, he's DUUVAL now. We got him. We got him." And so if you're curious on how you can get your hands on some Travis Hunter merchandise, a local sports store recently spent $30,000 on Travis Hunter merchandise. The owner of Sports Mania out at the beach, he said on Friday he had people coming in his store trying to get Travis Hunter gear, and he immediately placed his order. Everything is expected to arrive the middle of this week. But just remember, you probably won't have an opportunity to see Travis Hunter and the Jacksonville Jaguars actually play in Jacksonville until 2027, 2028. Because this football season, this fall, in September, they'll be playing their games in Orlando, their home games. They'll be playing them in Orlando at the Camping Ground Stadium until the renovations are complete on the brand new stadium that the city and the Jacksonville Jaguars came to agreement with last year in 2024. I think it's going to be $1 billion facility. The renderings look spectacular. It looks amazing. The rest of downtown can't help but get their game up because of how immaculate that building is going to look. And I'm looking forward to it. Hey, look, that's going to do it for me this week on Front Page Jacksonville. Once again, if you'd like to follow me, I'm going to give you the easy way. Just simply go to themilliondollarvoice.com. That's DAMilliondollarvoice.com. You can click on the links to my social media handles to follow me on social as well. I have enjoyed hanging out with you on today. Looking forward to catching up with you next week. We're going to get you back to your music. We got some gospel music coming your way with Wanda P. right here on Hot 106.5 FM, the soul of DUUVAL. Catch you next time. Peace.
Front Page Jacksonville, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. For show episodes, go to hot1065fm.com. We are Hot 106.5.